If you have ever scripted your life instead of trusting your own voice, today's episode is going to resonate with you. This is what I know now about trusting my voice. It is day 8 of 100 days of posting daily videos on YouTube. And in the second week, I am doing something completely different. I am going off track, off script, off training wheels is off, all the things are off. And I am just talking to you using a little bit of notes. So this is all I've got, not a script, just a guide here because I don't want to sit here and ramble and tell random stories. I want to make sure that I am not only sharing what it is that I know, but also guiding you and inspiring you to do something differently, to make a different choice, and to do what feels natural to you. So let's get into it. I decided last week that I am no longer gonna use a whole script to do these daily videos. And the reason why I decided to go unscripted is because my goal is to help you find your voice. My goal is to guide you to make decisions differently, to look at different perspectives, or to, just incorporate different ways of looking at things so that you can see more clearly. And doing that would require me to trust my own voice and to trust that I have all the words and I know exactly what to say. And so here we are in week 2. Things might look a lot different than last week, where I was getting everything done in 7 to 10 minutes. This week, the videos might be a little longer, but the impact will be greater and the authenticity will be more felt. That's my goal with this. I will try my best to remove as many ums so that I don't have to edit them out. I won't edit them out. If you hear the ums, just rock with me. There it goes, right? So just rock with me as I figure this out. But like I said, it's day 8 and I'm on a 100-day journey. I've got time. And I hope that you stick around to journey with me too. Let's keep going. I want to talk to you about the struggle. I want to talk to you about the problems that many of us face when it comes to scripting our lives. The main thing is that we use scripts as a way to show up and present ourselves when we fear that maybe we won't be understood. Maybe we fear that we need permission to use our voice in a specific way. And sometimes we can feel like we don't know what we're talking about, or we don't have the right words to express what it is that we want to express. So we use scripts to keep us focused and make sure we hit all of our marks and to make sure that the message is conveyed in a specific way. The thing about scripting is that it is tied to waiting for permission. It's tied to perfectionism. And in a journey like the one that I'm on with these 100 days of videos, I am moving all the way over here, away from perfectionism. I am disregarding the feel to ask for permission in what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. And I can also recognize that this method of living and showing up, especially in the social space, is really tied to generational perfectionism. As Black people, we have been waiting for permission, especially those of us in the US, for the entirety of the history that they tell us, right? Everything about our existence has been permission-based. The permission to vote, to go here, to live there, to go to this school, to work this job, to even apply for things. It's always been permission. And not only that, a lot of what we are experiencing as perfectionism now is tied to having to show up in spaces in specific ways because it was life or death, right? And so when you think about the habit that we have now of waiting for things to be perfect and scripting our lives and seeking permission, we have to acknowledge that this is a generational trauma, probably ingrained in the epigenetics of our existence, right? In our DNA. And when we do things like this, when we show up unscripted, raw, and authentic, we are absolutely recoding our DNA. We are removing the pieces of our DNA that hold us to these binds, and we are creating new forms of connection within ourselves. We are creating new neural pathways within our brains that teach us that we don't need permission to trust ourselves. We don't need perfectionism to get to the point. We just need to show up in our authenticity and start. And let experience and movement build the confidence that creates the impact that we're looking for. And so this in itself is a revolutionary act. Showing up with just a page, and no script, and praying and hoping that the messaging comes across, praying and hoping that you feel me, right? And really being intentional about showing up like this. It is revolutionary. The thing that I see often when I'm working with clients, when it comes to them having to feel like what they say and what they do has to be perfect, is usually tied to this fear of being judged. And if you, like my clients, have this fear, here's what I want you to know. Everybody gonna judge you whenever they want because they can. And there is absolutely nothing that you can do about that. For yourself, though, what you can remind yourself is that other people's judgment have no bearing on your actions. If you can sit with that, if you can own that truth, that no matter what anybody says about you, no matter what they got, what they posted, no matter what the comments say, if you can sit with the fact that other people's judgments of you have no impact or connection to how you show up, to what you do and what you say, then you can move yourself away from perfectionism and scripting and just start showing up as yourself. That is the key to being authentic and raw, is not allowing judgment to be tied to how you show up, not allowing what other people say and think to determine the direction that you move. You keep moving. They're going to keep saying you keep moving. And that is what I support my clients in doing, is recognizing that, yeah, people are going to judge you, but what do you do with that? How do you move through that? How do you take those judgments and ignore them or add them to the suggestion box that you never have to open? Or completely not hear it at all, just teach yourself how to breathe and meditate these things over you, because if it don't apply, let it fly, right? These are the things that I constantly am inspiring my clients to recognize, is that they have a choice when it comes to being judged. And the choice does not have to be to listen to the judgment. And so if you are on this journey and perfectionism is something that you're working through, scripting is something that you want to remove from your process, then focus on how you respond to judgment and navigating it differently, so that even when you're judged, you don't do anything with it. It doesn't bother you. You just keep moving. And that will get you this much closer to showing up like this online. I'm trying it. Here I am. And it's working. The next thing I want to make sure that I touch on is this shift in perspective, right? Recognizing the difference between noise and your voice. We tend to think that these are interchangeable, that we can use the voice and the noise as one and the same. And it's not. Essentially, noise can be many things. Noise can be dissonance. Noise can be chatter and judgment. Noise can be just an array of sound, right? Noise is just sound. But your voice, so your voice is an instrument. It's a trusted tool that you use to convey something, right? It's connected to the throat chakra, which is connected to our self-worth and how we see ourselves and how we can communicate that. And your voice is connected to trust, right? And we tend to think that trust is a feeling, like, I feel like I can trust you. But trust is not a feeling more than it is a muscle. Trust is something that you exercise. Trust is something that you build. Trust is something that takes time, just like working out any other muscle, right? To make it strong, you have to build that. So when we talk about the voice, we have to talk about trust, right? We have to talk about this non-feeling, but this muscle that we're building. And you don't feel like you trust your voice. You decide to trust your voice. Trust is a decision that you make, right? Again, after building the muscle, you decide to trust someone. The same thing with your voice. Your voice is here. It's not noise. It's not dissonance. It is clear. And when you express yourself, it's active. When you are doing something like trusting your voice, what you're doing is making the decision to trust yourself. You are building this trust muscle within yourself, and that translates to trusting other things outside of yourself. And so just by showing up online and trusting your voice and sharing and saying all the things that you have to say, you're actually practicing building the muscle of trust, which will translate to many other areas of your life. So if you were not encouraged to show up authentically online before today, I hope this video validates for you why you need to just show up and start using your voice, start building this trust muscle, and watch how it trickles to other areas of your life. I see it all the time. I have client sessions where the biggest breakthrough is when they move from feeling like they need to express themselves in this perfect way, right? Feeling like they need to tell me exactly in the most aesthetically pleasing way. And then when they shift to trusting and honoring their truth and using their voice to express themselves in any way that they can, right? I call it word vomiting sometimes. I call it speaking in drafts sometimes, right? It's not perfect, but it is just. It is just the truth. It is just our voice. It's just how we feel. And I love when the light bulb goes off with my clients, because when that breakthrough happens, when they pivot from perfection to just truth, they can feel the difference in that. They can honor that. Wow, that felt really, really good to say this. Wow, I've never thought of it like that before. They start to hear themselves clearly, but also they start to see themselves clearly. And that to me that's gold right there. When they get to the space where they just trust that whatever they're saying is their truth. Whew, as a coach, that is really where I find joy. And in my glow sessions, these one-on-one conversations with clients, I get to see them explore themselves differently. I get to see them stop trying to sound good and start speaking truth. And then when they come back to me after, our time apart, they come back and they tell me how that's shown up in other relationships that they've had, how they've been able to express themselves differently to their spouses or their children or their partners or even at work. Again, I think that speaks to the decision to trust yourself. Because when you trust yourself over here, you're going to trust yourself in many different areas. And you don't directly see the connection, but indirectly, it spreads. It spreads and it shows up in beautiful ways. And what I'm most excited about this year is that this is the shift that we're exploring at my Glow Forward retreat in Thailand this July. We are exploring how to shift into trusting our voice, shift into trusting ourselves and our intuition, shift into the version of ourselves that we're becoming, and really exploring stepping away from the noise, right? Sometimes when you are home, there's constant noise. No matter how much you meditate, no matter how much you do the breath work, no matter how many therapy sessions you have, sometimes you just can't escape the noise when you're at home. So having people journey all the way to Thailand for some silence, for a pause, for shifting the perspectives and allowing them to be in this community space where we can be a mirror for each other and we can support each other in speaking our truth, that is going to be breakthrough. Okay, that is going to be such a time. I'm really, really excited about that journey. Like I expressed earlier, I'm here to try. I'm here to explore doing all the things, finding what feels really, really good to me in this experiment, and just duplicating that and running with that and showing up and sharing and helping you to process and see different perspective outside of what you think is the only way. Sometimes we can't see the forest from the trees. My work in these videos, in my coaching sessions, at my retreats, and my containers, my work is always to help you see the forest and the trees. And that is what this video is doing, helping you to see that even when it's not perfect, even when there's no script, it still is great content and it deserves to be shared and seen. Before I let you go today, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is one thing you've been scripting in life that you need to start speaking into existence? Where are you not trusting your voice and waiting for permission and waiting for perfection as opposed to you just showing up? Where in your life are you scripting, but you need to start speaking it into existence? Drop it in the comments. I would love to read what you have to share. Again, doesn't have to be long. It could be one word, one sentence, and I will respond and follow up. Thank you so much for joining me today for day 8. If you were inspired by this, go back to day 7 and watch me go off about the scripting thing. And I've also got another video, day 3, where I talk about showing up even before you have the confidence. That one is really, really, it's integral. It's like step 1 to this 3-part process that I've been on. So I hope that you enjoy those videos. And I'll see you tomorrow for day 9. Let's keep showing up together. Peace.